Okay, I'm going to show you how I burnish the edges. So this is the bag, and I have sanded all the edges down. Actually, I first cut them with a blade, and then I trimmed the edges also with another blade to make them kind of rounded. What I want to achieve, what I want to end up with is this. These are burnished edges. You can see it's shiny and dark. This is a result of burnishing. So, show you how it works. First step, well, there are different ways to burnish. Most people use water. They apply water to the edge, and then they use a burnishing tool, which looks like this, to rub the edge, and that it compacts the fibers in the leather, compacts them together, and the water helps that process to get the air out, and it makes it very dense. Other people use gum tragacanth, which is a gummy substance that they also use in food for molecular gastronomy, and then when they make sweets. Some people use a type of glue, but I actually developed my own method, which is to use leather dye, the same dye that I color the leather with. So because I noticed that when I dye the leather, after I've dyed it, I buff it with a cloth, and it gives it a nice shine. You can see how shiny the leather is, you know, over here. So you want the edges nice and shiny when you've burnished them. So I thought, why would I not just use the dye, since the dye does have, it gives a slight waterproof protection to the leather, and it also makes the edges nice and dark. And after all, I have colored the rest of the bag in the same dye, so I think the color would be quite nice, and it actually works really well. So I think I discovered something. Maybe other people discovered it too, but I haven't seen any of that on the internet. So let's just say I'm the first. But I might not be, who knows. So apply some dye to the edge, and once that's done, I'm going to use my burnishing tool. Now I don't use a hand burnisher like the one I showed you. I use my Dremel tool. I had a little burnishing tip made for it by a guy that uses a lathe. So I attach the burnishing tip to the Dremel. Okay, now you'll see the edge is not shiny at the moment. It's quite matte and dark. But now I'm going to compact those fibers by the friction of the tool here. So excuse the noise, but here goes. And in short order, you have a shiny, burnished edge, and this will help the leather last much longer. It makes the edges waterproof, because you know leather is actually quite fibrous, and the side of the leather that faces the air on the animal is the densest side, but the flesh facing side is very fibrous and absorbent, and you don't actually want that to be exposed. So you always put that on the inside of the bag or the jacket, whatever you're making. But of course, where you cut the leather, the edges, those fibers are exposed. So this is a good way of compacting them. And, once I've completed the bag, I will apply some waterproofing spray to waterproof it. I have this stuff here. It actually contains Teflon, the stuff that they put on frying pans, and what is it called again? Yeah, I can't even find it here, but yeah, it contains Teflon and silicone, and that makes it waterproof. The bag already looks quite good. I'm very happy with how it's turned out, and it's very heavy. Real quality. So I've already burnished all of the edges on this side. Not all of the edges, but I started here, and you can see it's nice and shiny. At the end of the day, you know, I've got 3 pieces of leather coming together here, but burnishing it makes it look like one thing. And all it is leather dye and friction. It's pretty amazing. There are other methods of sealing your edges, like I did here, using a paint. But you know, it's difficult to get the paint evenly applied. I tried my best, but like you can see, it's not exactly a straight line. There are some edges, and then here I had some extra, so I had to cut some of it off. Sorry, my hands are dirty, it's full of dye. So that's edge paint, but I think I actually don't like it. I prefer the burnishing, because it's really, there's nothing added to the, there's nothing on top of the leather that can just come off again like paint, you know, and it won't crack like paint will crack. And if it needs to be refreshed, I can just burnish it again. It doesn't take too long after all. So that's where I am now. I've got some marks here, I don't know where that came from, but it's all part of being a handmade object. The inside of the bag looks very nice. Oh, I need to make some tabs, some leather tabs to attach to the zippers so that they're easier to grab, because now I have to kind of fumble around until I get a hold of the zipper. But I want to show you the beautiful inside. So I'm going to put another panel in the bottom that's will be lined with silk, and it will more closely resemble the inside that's lined with silk. This is the pouch where the laptop slides in, or iPad. And then on the other side I have another silk lining, and I have this pouch where I can put my cell phone or my wallet inside. It's also made out of leather. Now this leather I put some grooves into it. I made it wet with water basically, and that makes the leather more pliable. And then I used my bone folder. It's a tool like this. This one is made from buffalo horn, and then this one is made from bovine femur, so it's cow leg bone, and you make the leather wet, and you basically rule the surface with the bone folder and a ruler. You use a steel ruler to make straight lines, and it actually makes a very deep impression. But it doesn't weaken the leather, it just compacts the fibers. And then I've got brass colored zip and brass colored rivets, and the handle has also been burnished. You can see it looks very nice and dense. So it's very comfortable to hold. Yeah, I'm very happy.